welcome to my channel. I'm Giselle, and I am going to go over the solar eclipse that's happening in Virgo on Sunday, September 21st. I want to give a brief overview of what this eclipse holds in terms of energy and what the expectation may be, or what to be potentially prepared for. And then we'll dive into the chart and I'll break it down so that you have a better idea of how I came up with this synopsis. So we have this solar eclipse in eclipse season, and a solar eclipse is a new moon, but it's close to one of the lunar nodes, whether it's the south node or the north node, and that's what makes it an eclipse. Whenever we're dealing with eclipse season, a lot of astrologers will say that fated events happen, or the experiences that we have are very fated, and there's a reason for that. The north node and the south node are tied to our evolutionary growth, and even in ancient astrology, they always tied eclipses with particular omens. So whether it was a good omen or a bad omen, it really just depended on what else was visible in the sky at the time. When we're moving through eclipse season, we tend to be more like magnets. And this is how I like to think of it. We're magnets and we're attracting the experiences that we are meant to have, so that we can come to hopefully some sort of release or some sort of gain, some sort of push to get us a little bit more on track towards where we're meant to go in terms of growth, spiritual growth, mental growth, physical, whatever. Of course, you have power over your free will during eclipse season, during any time of your life. And I think that it's important to remember that, especially in how you act, how you respond, how you communicate, and how you think. That is really the only control that you have over any situation, especially when something is happening externally to you, and you're witnessing it or you're on the receiving end of it. So how you act, how you respond, how you communicate, how you think, those are all within your realm of control, and those are going to have a vibratory, energetic influence on what is emitted from you vibrationally. So let's get back to the eclipse. The eclipse in Virgo is a new beginning in Virgo. However, this solar eclipse is conjunct the south node, and the south node is the point in which we transform from. We release things from the south node energy, which usually has to do with the shadow aspects of that sign that it's in this case, Virgo. So think analysis paralysis, nitpicking, perfectionism, criticism, really trying to break things down way too detailed instead of just appreciating the beauty of something that is whole and recognizing the wholeness of it. So the reason Virgo tends to this is like a whole extreme of Virgo. And the reason that it leans to this side in its shadow is because Virgo is, represented by the maiden. It's represented by purity. And it is, because it's chasing this purity, this maiden, this, virgin, it views God or the divine as its goal. And so it's constantly striving to be better, to be more efficient, to represent itself as close to the image of God as it can, if that makes sense. And so in that process, in that journey, it almost feels like nothing's ever good enough because that boundary of perfection keeps moving. And this whole idea of being perfect doesn't actually exist in the 3D realm in human life. No one is perfect. This is the South Node energy that we are working with, that we're releasing from, that we're evolving from. And then we're shifting more towards North Node energy. North Node energy being in Pisces, which is all about unconditional love, acceptance, compassion, connection to spirit, recognizing that we are already in the image of God. And each one of us are a drop in the larger ocean of God, right? So we are all contributing in our own way. We are all perfect in our own way. There is a paradoxical new beginning and release ending. And they're kind of rooted together in this. So, how I'm viewing this is the new beginning is this release of something that's been holding us back, something that maybe has been impairing our growth or our evolution forward, something that's been damaging to our relationships, and especially relationships because the ruler of the Virgo solar eclipse is in Libra. And Libra is the sign for relationships. It's not just self, it's self and other, self in relationship to other. And with Mercury being very much mental energy, communication, perception, mind patterns, thoughts, beliefs, all of that, the whole, it's the encompassing, mental energy sphere. In Libra, we are dealing with relationships. So let me pull up the chart and I'll break it down a little bit more. So here is the solar eclipse chart that's happening on Sunday, September 21st at about 4 p.m. Eastern time. Adjust for your time zone as needed. If you're Pacific, California on the West Coast, decrease or subtract 3 hours. If you are in London, I believe it's 6 hours ahead. So 29 degrees, anaretic degree, this holds a sense of urgency. It holds a sense of needing to tie up loose ends before we move forward, okay? And we had this new moon in Virgo in August, I believe it was August 23, 24. It was at 0 degrees. So it was like the birthing point of this sign. It was very fresh energy. It was very new. If you look back to that time, you may be able to pick out something that sort of started fresh, something that maybe you started fresh, maybe even an idea or a seed that you were planting at that time. This solar eclipse may have something to do with that. And so if you do see a thread, just know that this is an evolutionary point for you in relation to that. On top of that, the North Node and the South Node take about 18 to 19 years to make a full loop around. Now, when they go about halfway, which is like 9 years, that is usually when we see the same themes come up. And I'll give you an example, my own personal example. My lunar nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. I'm having a whole nodal return right now. The last time that they were in these signs, but flipped. So the South Node was in Pisces and the North Node was in Virgo. I did my yoga teacher training. I also started dabbling in astrology. This year, I am now a practicing astrologer and I am doing my 300-hour yoga training, which is an advanced yoga training. So it is like as if I have come full circle or I'm evolving what started back then. So if you look back to, I want to say 2016, it's 2016 to 2017, to the first half of 2017. What was happening in your life at that time? This could be coming back, not really full circle necessarily, but you're starting to see the evolution of it. You're starting to see the progression of it. You're starting to see how it's manifesting in or stepping into the next level. We're stepping into the next level. And what is seated here today or at this time during this eclipse season will have some sort of evolution, an apparent evolution in your life in about 9 years from now. So we're in 2025, let's say in 2034, give or take a year, okay? Depending on and when the nodes get back into these signs again. And of course, they'll be flipped, but you will notice something. You'll notice that there is a thread that's weaved through these experiences. So back to the solar eclipse. Because it's with the South Node, there is this release. Here's Mercury. Mercury is in Libra. This is the ruler of Virgo. So it's the ruler of the solar eclipse. Now, because it's in Libra, Libra being an air sign and being a sign, really rooted in relations with like polarities and dualities. I mean, Libra is the beginning of the fall equinox. It begins fall. So it begins this balance between light and dark, right? Masculine and feminine, yang and yin. With Mercury here, we may be playing with these themes in our mind, okay? We may be playing with these themes of dark and light within us. And because it's in an air sign and we have this really powerful grand air trine happening with two outer planets, I think there's going to be a lot having to do with our mental energy, the way we communicate, once again, perception, thought patterns, beliefs, like how we express, how we share, how we exchange, how we receive, okay? Pluto is in Aquarius at 1 degree retrograde, and Uranus is in Gemini at 1 degree retrograde. And they're making this trine. And it's also making an out of sign trine too to the sun and the moon. Okay. So this grand air trine is really emphasizing air, which is thoughts, perceptions, communication, exchanges, that sort of thing. Pluto, even though this is a trine, and trines are very harmonious energy, Pluto is known for destruction. When Pluto's involved in something, it will break it down before it develops into something transformative and powerful. I'll give you an example, the best example that I can give you that's simple, that we all know about in nature. When a caterpillar wraps itself up in its cocoon, what happens inside that cocoon, inside of the darkness, is a breakdown, a complete breakdown until it becomes mush. That's Pluto. But then what emerges out of that at the end of its transformation is this beautiful butterfly that is now liberated and no longer tethered or tied to the earth. It can fly about, it can go wherever it wants, it has the freedom. This is what Pluto represents. There is a breakdown before a breakthrough where you feel liberated, where you feel like you have now surpassed whatever limitation that was holding you back. Uranus, on the other hand, is a higher octave of Mercury. And it's great that it's making this harmonious trine with Mercury. If Mercury is the mind, Uranus is the quantum field. Uranus allows us to tap in with our antennas into futures that have not yet happened, or potentials, possibilities that have not yet happened, where we get to select how we want our life to unfold. And if you know anything about quantum field, quantum leaping, especially through meditation, this is our helper. Uranus is the one that is the drastic change maker. All it asks is for you to tap into it. When Uranus is involved, there is drastic change that happens. There is surprises. There is like that whole saying, expect the unexpected. That is very Uranus. Sometimes Uranus doesn't play nice. And if it doesn't play nice, it's okay. I think that in this situation, or in most situations with Uranus, you need to trust. You need to trust that whatever is shifting for you, even if it's too fast of a shift for you to even comprehend it, that shift is meant to happen. And that shift is meant to happen because it is supporting your evolutionary growth, because this is happening during an eclipse season. The ruler of the solar eclipse, Mercury, is in an opposition to Neptune, and the sun and the moon are in an opposition to Saturn. And we're just going to group them together because their energies standing together in opposition to. So we've got sun, moon, Mercury in opposition to Saturn, which is a very difficult planet to deal with, especially in opposition or in a square, and Neptune, which can also be a very difficult planet to deal with when it's creating almost like a fog or an illusion. So when we have this opposition, we have tension between two sides. We've got this collection of planets in Virgo and Libra, and then we've got the two planets in the exact opposite signs. So we're playing again with duality. Whenever Pluto is involved, we can expect almost a hard lesson or a sobering moment, a moment where reality dawns on us and we're having to really focus on putting our feet on the ground. Saturn is known for presenting consequences for anybody who tries to escape, especially when it's in Pisces. Pisces can hold this energy of escapism. With Saturn here, Saturn can be limitations, it can be hard lessons, it can be, difficulties, it can be obstacles. Neptune is all about having faith. It's about connecting to spirit, connecting to the divine. It's about getting out of our analytical mind and tapping into our intuition. Whatever we're going through right now at this time, the answer or the the making sense of it, the breakdown of it that we would typically do with our Virgo South Node energy, it's not going to be clear. And we're being called to put some faith in the unfolding, into trusting the unknown, and tapping into our intuition to take the next step forward. What feels right versus what logically sounds right. Maybe it's, I don't have enough money, but I know I really need to take this course because this course is going to progress me or propel me in my career. Maybe you make a payment plan. Maybe you paid on your credit card and you set up a payment plan because your intuition is telling you, this is going to help propel me forward. There's an opportunity that presents, you jump on it. I feel like there are going to be a lot of situations that come up for relationships, but it's not necessarily relationships like romantic relationships. This could be a work relationship. It could be a relationship that develops between you and a mentor. It could be your relationship with just you and money, your relationship with your mind, how you communicate with yourself, your own self-talk. There's a lot of ways that this can play out. But there is something that you need to release, that you need to let go of in order to step into this new beginning, this new future. So outside of this grand air trine and then this opposition, we have two other aspects that are happening. And I want to point them out because I think that they're pretty important. So first off, I want to move over to Venus. Venus is in Virgo. Venus is in her fall in Virgo. This is the planet for relationships, for how we relate to others, how we dance with others, how we move with others, how we vibe with others. And also the planet that likes to enjoy itself. What do we find pleasure in? What do we find enjoyment in? What do we relish in? What do we find luxury in? How do we tap into our sensual, our senses, our physical body, our experience of life, okay? And find enjoyment in that. When it's in Virgo, it's unable to completely relax and just enjoy. Virgo, it doesn't do well because it is constantly striving for perfection, that it can't fully enjoy itself. And this is the downfall of Venus in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is squaring off with Uranus in Gemini. We may be too much in our minds that we are forgetting to just soften, pull back, relax, and enjoy the moment, appreciate the moment. To see that there is beauty in imperfection, to see that the imperfection is actually perfect in and of itself. There's a both and here. And so this is going to be a little bit of a difficult thing to grasp, but just make note of that and recognize if you are in an experience of some sort. Maybe you have a presentation on Monday and this is coming up for you on Monday and you're getting too caught up in your mind about how the presentation didn't go perfectly, or you missed a point, you didn't say something, or you said something the wrong way, or somebody said something the wrong way. Get out of your head about it. And just appreciate that this unfolding, however it presented, is perfect in and of itself. Venus is in Mercury's home sign, and Mercury is in Venus's home sign. So there is this communication, it's called mutual reception, between the two planets, where they're hosting each other in each other's houses like they did a house swap. Okay, so mental energy, breaking things down, really analyzing, refining, getting tuning into our craft and how we are relating with others. There's some sort of connection here, and you can break this down for yourself in your own chart or in your own life. This will make sense when something does come up. One more aspect to go over, and that is Mars. Mars is at 29 degrees of Libra. This is the anaretic degree again, that degree of urgency, that degree of wanting to wrap things up. Libra, again, relationships, how we relate to others. It also has to do with justice. So if there is something that, feels unbalanced or not fair, I feel like Mars is going to make sure that this ends up reaching that point of balance and fairness. And it's making an out of sign square to Pluto. So this could be that moment of destruction. And this moment of destruction may not happen on Sunday. It may happen when Mars moves into Scorpio, which is like the sign of destruction, the sign of breakdown, the sign of like real, raw, primal energy. And squares are never easy to deal with, but they are here to push us into taking action or to making a change that we need. It's almost like that change that we didn't know we need until it happened, right? Mars separates, it breaks down. There's aggression, rage, all kinds of emotions that come with Mars. It's very yang energy, but it's also very highly ambitious. It pushes forward. It's motivational. There's drive here. So there could be motivation in seeking justice. There could be a relationship that motivates. There could be a desire or goal that feels, good to chase after, but there's going to be a breakdown before you have that breakthrough. Once again, I do feel like this solar eclipse has something to do with a release of some sort. And more than likely, it'll be something that has to do with our perception, our beliefs, our thoughts, our thought processes, the vibrational energy that we have within us that we share or exchange with others. How we communicate, the words that we choose when we are trying to connect with someone else or when we're trying to get someone else to see our point of view. The words we choose have power. If you're struggling to get someone to see your point of view, let's say, I'll give you a real life example right now of somebody I know going through a situation. She's been married for a long time, going through a situation with her husband, and she keeps telling her husband, "You don't care." And I stopped and looked at her the other day and I said, "You need to stop telling him that you don't care because you're telling him how he feels. And you telling him how he feels is what you're getting back. So instead, change your words and say, I really love it when you show me that you care." It's all about the wording. It's all about how you perceive a situation, or maybe recognizing the little moments where they do show that they care and appreciating those moments, right? There is so many ways that we can approach a situation like this. And I think this is the moment where we really recognize how much our mental energy, how we break down situations, how we break down ideas and thoughts and whatnot in our mind has an effect on how we receive the world, how we receive relationships. That's all I got for you. If this resonated and you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, a like, share, follow, subscribe, all the things. And I hope to see you again for the next video. Take care.